Well, hello there, Jane. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Congratulations on behalf of APA Illinois. You are this year's 2020 winner of the Emerging Planner Award.
Thanks so much. I'm so honored and humbled to be receiving this award.
Excellent. It's very exciting. As you were nominated, I saw the nomination, and I don't vote as awards chair for the service awards, but I was very excited to see this. So it is definitely a deserving award. And I thought of what better way to celebrate this is we just wanted to ask you a couple of questions, learn more about who you are and kind of your experience as a planner. So I just have a couple of questions here that I wanted to talk about, and feel free to answer them as you wish. But the first is kind of just describe how you got into planning, like what got you into the industry and the profession.
Yeah, thanks. So great question. Growing up, I grew up in Florida, and something my family and I would do to kind of avoid the summer heat is go on road trips, and we would see a lot of different parts of the country. And I think just traveling and being exposed to different cities and towns that are big and small really had a very big impact on me. So without really, knowing that urban planning was, a thing, I think that, from a young age, I was always kind of very interested in that. And
Yeah.
In college, I, like everyone else, wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, and ended up taking just an urban studies course as kind of a requirement, and, completely fell in love with it, and, had a couple internships in college. I worked at a redevelopment agency at a park. I worked in my hometown in Florida with an economic development kind of local government assistantship there. I worked in an architecture firm, seeing if I liked urban design. And then I kind of, wanted to continue to pursue a career in planning, and came to Chicago to go to grad school at UIC. I was very excited to be living in a city and doing urban planning. And I, was lucky enough to get a research assistantship at the Urban Transportation Center, which was a fantastic experience. I never really thought that much about transportation as a kind of career or field, but I learned so much and continued to learn more and more about transportation at an internship I had at the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning at CMAP, and amongst other things, learned a lot about parking policy and management through the projects I was doing at that time, which has been something that I've continued to be very passionate about. And I have, recently worked on founding a parking reform nonprofit, which is this poster behind me here.
Oh, nice.
And so, it's something that, I have continued to do. And as a consultant, I continue to work, not just kind of on street design, but on some of these different ideas as well.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. As a fellow UTC grad myself, I think that's awesome. And a passionate transportation person as well. That's very cool. As you've been in the industry, it's, the award is Emerging Planner, but I think, like, as the nomination described, it's like you've already emerged. You've been in the industry for a while. You've done some great projects. You've been involved with some really cool initiatives. What are some of the things that you find like really rewarding about what you do? Or maybe even like what some of the challenges are, or, because you've been involved in projects all across the country.
Yeah, thanks. That's a good question and good compliment. I appreciate it. But as a planner at Sam Schwartz, a lot of my work focuses on, not just policy and street design, but, as I was kind of saying, parking management and transportation demand management. So, taking it to the next level of how do we get people out of single occupancy vehicles? What's the right combination of programs and policies and regulations, and how can we work with communities in getting that passed? And, the state of Illinois and Chicago are fairly unique in that we have very few geographic constraints and limited statewide regulations, unlike some of the different cities I've worked in, particularly those on the coasts, really. So there's not really a ton preventing sprawl in the region when you really think about it. So
Yeah.
something that it can be a challenge and really is a big opportunity is bringing these ideas to the forefront of these conversations around transportation, around housing, and around development as a whole, really just unifying that in a sustainable way. And something else that, is obviously more relevant to our time is that, we're very diverse. We're a very diverse part of the country. And there's a lot of issues going on right now about surrounding race and equity and inclusion, particularly in the planning field. And, planning and transportation policies were major contributors in getting us to where we are today. And, something that is very motivating to me as I continue my career is thinking about how they can also be key tools in creating a more equitable future and kind of thinking about how the, land use and transportation are intrinsic to these issues.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. I didn't think about it in that way, but I definitely agree that kind of undoing some of these systemic issues in our industry is what our role could be. So I think that's fantastic. And last but certainly not least, to all the other emerging planners that are out there, do you have any advice that you wish to offer?
Yeah, so I guess I would just say there's a lot of opportunities to get involved and never stop kind of looking at different things. As I was kind of talking about before, I worked in the public and private sector and looked at different advocacy groups and everyone you kind of run into has a different perspective, and it's really important as a planner to hear that and listen, and also really try to incorporate it into what you end up developing, because it can really shape our future.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. Well, thank you very much, Jane Wilberding. Again, on behalf of APA Illinois, congratulations once again on your Emerging Planner Award. It is very well deserved.
Thank you so much again for this conversation and for the award.